What is up, YouTube boy Milsey, my hometown commander, back for another episode of Milsey Brews, the show where I brew my version 1.0 deck list of the commander in front of us on my quest to brew the magic world. As always, the deck list is going to be down in the description for you below, as well as I would appreciate if you could interact with the video at all, like, comment, subscribe, use those links down in the description. I would appreciate it. Today, we're rocking through ACR. This is going to be our last full week of content before we get into Bloomborough, and I'm very excited to get into Bloomborough, but today we're talking about Altaïr, a Mardu assassin command. And this one's kind of interesting. First strike 3/3. Whenever it attacks, exile up to one target assassin creature from your graveyard with a memory counter on it. Then for each card you own in exile with a memory counter on it, create a tabs at attacking token that's a copy of it, exile those tokens at the end of combat. I like this idea a lot for a couple of reasons. One, it allows you to kind of grow this army, right, over the course of turns. Two, if Altair gets removed and it comes back, we should be able to get the same stack we had last time, which is pretty cool. And three, this lets us take advantage of maybe ETBs or other effects that we could get potentially from these assassins that are coming in. So we're going to talk about some of the assassins overall in the deck that are just going to create value. We're going to talk about some of the assassins we're going to look to exile that memory counter to get over and over again. We're talking about ways to feed the graveyard so that we can have Altair ready to go. And then we'll talk about ways we could try to potentially use those tokens before they leave the battlefield, so we're getting some sort of value other than just attacking with them. So as far as our assassins go, we have something like Eye of Alexandria. Whenever a historic creature we control does combat damage to a player, we make a 1/1 token. This is great because if we're exiling legendary assassins out of our graveyard, well then we can do this, or the ones that are on the battlefield already. Bayek of Siwa, as long as it's our turn, other historic creatures have double strike. Again, if we're pulling legendary assassins or whatever assassins we have, they're going to have double strike. Mari says whenever a creature opponent controls dies, we exile it with a hit counter on it. And then all of our assassins are going to have death touch, and whenever this creature does combat damage to a player, you remove a hit counter from a card a player owns in exile. If you do, draw a card and create 2 treasures. So even our copies that are coming back in are going to have this ability and be allowed to do that to help us out as far as value goes. Massacre Girl for the Wither, making all of our assassins very deadly and maybe making people not want to block as much. Olivia Opulent Outlaw, great card now in a lot of these assassin pals. Whenever one of our outlaws we control to a combat damage to a player, we create a treasure, so all of our assassins count for that. And then for 3 mana, we can sack 2 treasures, just put 2 counters on each creature we control, like it only is a sorcery. Olivia's not necessarily one we want to exile out of our graveyard, but it's one we definitely want to have hanging around on the battlefield and use for its ability. And then Queen Marchesa got that Secret Lair reprint, Death Touch Haste. Whenever at ETB, we become the Monarch, beating our upkeep. If an opponent is the Monarch, make a 1/1 assassin. Just again, get the Monarch, get that extra card draw, and if our opponents take it, then we at least get the assassin token that we can farm some value with. Well, let's talk about some assassins we want to potentially get exiled with that memory counter, right? Big Game Hunter, when it says when it ETBs, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, it can't be regenerated. I like this. That means we can potentially start picking off these big creatures every turn. Regular Cohort, when it comes in, makes a 2/2 shapeshifter creature token with changeling, meaning we're going to get that token to stay around, but regular Cohort will go away, replacing itself, making sure we have more assassins ready to go. Merciless Harlequin draws us a card and loses a life. I mean, a great ability to have and use for sure. Necrotal, when the ETB is destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature. So again, just a way to take out some things, hopefully every turn, right, as we're putting more and more things in the memory counter. Ruthless Lawbringer, when it comes in, we can sack another creature when we do destroy target non-land permanent. So we could sack another one of the tokens that came in, or sack one of the tokens that we made with other abilities and just start destroying a non-land permanent every turn. And then Undercity Eliminator, when ETBs, you can sacrifice an artifact or creature. If you do, exile target creature opponent controls. So again, so just these ways to get removal, a way that our deck's already trying to do it. It's not just about playing, that removal on spells. We can get removal on creatures, which I think is really important when we talk about doing this every turn. But we don't want to just rely on playing them and then dying for them to get into our graveyard. We're in the perfect colors to feed our graveyard with what we want. And there's a lot of interesting ways we can do it. We have something like Dahada, which on the -3 can reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put any number of legendaries from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard, create a treasure for each card put into your graveyard. We can purposefully put the legendaries in our graveyard if we want to, but hey, it just allows us to dump some things into our graveyard and get some treasures for it. Buried Alive just says search your library for 3 creatures to put them into the graveyard. I love this because we can go get those 2 or 3 assassins that do that, removal on ETB and get them into the graveyard that we can get them rocking for Altair. We have things like Big Score and Unexpected Windfall, which are going to allow us to pitch a card in order to draw 2 and create 2 treasures. If we have one of those assassins in our hand, we can just pitch it and get into the graveyard. Entomb just lets us put any card we want to our graveyard, which is pretty great. Feed one of those creatures in we really want as soon as we're going to get Altair out. And then Ripples of Undeath, beginning of our pre-combat main phase, we mill 3. And we can pay 1 mana and 3 life. If we do, we put a card from among them back into our hand. What I like about this is a chance to feed, right, those assassins into the graveyard, but also if we really hit a card we really needed, we can pay a mana and 3 life and get it back and not have to try to worry about other recursion to get it back. The deck is playing other recursion, like we are playing reanimate style effects, but we're focused here more on seeding them into the graveyard so we can use them for Altair's effect. So how are we going to use those tokens for value, right? How are we going to take these tokens that are going to go away no matter what and use them to our advantage before they leave? We have things like Garza's Assassin. Whenever it says we can sacrifice it to destroy target non-black creature. So here we're kind of playing similar to the ones where we talked about using them when they come in. Well, sack it, destroy target non-black creature. Then it gives us good value. The Master Manipulated says that triggered abilities you control can't cause you to sacrifice or exile creature tokens you control, and the legend rule doesn't apply to creature tokens you control, meaning that we can continue to keep those around and around turn after turn if we really wanted to, which I think is a great ability when we start to think about maybe things like Olivia or Mari if we kept them in exile. If we wanted to get them in exile, it wouldn't be bad to pair with it. Deadly Dispute to sacrifice a creature to draw 2 and make a treasure, so again, turn them into that. There's something like Altar of Dementia or any of your other altar effects where you could sack the creature for the other altars to make mana, but here just have somebody mill. Again, if we have 3 or 4 creatures getting created and we're going to lose them anyway, why not sack them to it and have our opponent mill a couple cards before we lose them. We do have something like Mirror Box, and I think the important part about Mirror Box is playing with some other effects where if we keep our tokens around for multiple turns or find a way to stop them from being sacrificed, well then we're not going to run into legendary rule problems with them. Not only that, but what Mirror Box will do is just give them all a little boost. And then Haystack, target creature control phases out. This should ideally stop the trigger for it sacrificing itself, because it won't be there when the trigger goes off. It'll miss it, and it means it should stick around. I could be wrong on that interaction, but to my knowledge, that's the way the interaction works. And so that's kind of what I plan for. The Mirror Box is just to make sure that if we make a copy of that token or we do something special with the token, that they're not going to interact with the legend rule, and we're not going to have to get rid of them. We can just keep stacking them up and really enjoying them. But I've said it before, and I'll say it plenty of times again on this show. No deck is perfect. This is my version 1.0 version of the deck. And I think there's a lot of nuances in the deck that we can learn by testing it. I think a lot of this looks good on paper, but there are definitely decks where you learn a lot by being in testing. 2 cards I think that could be really good use is 1, Roaming Throne. We would have to rely a little bit more on things like Mirror Box, especially if we're going to start exiling legendary creatures. But hey, doubling up Altair's effect to get 2 copies of them, right? Every turn, exile 1, make all of them, exile another one, make all of them. Unmarked Grave can just put any non-legendary card into our graveyard, so we can do that and feed an assassin that way. Or Sneak Attack. It'd be kind of interesting to sneak attack in an assassin. It would sacrifice itself, and then the next turn we could exile it with Altair, which could be interesting, right? A way to kind of play into that value and push it forward. So I hope you kind of see the intention with the deck, but let's see what we can do as far as trying to muse on this playtest-wise. Keeping a 3-lander Bojuka Bog, Elegant Parlor, and that Arena of Glory. We've got Buried Alive, Lawbringer, and Vein Ripper, so a good kind of start here to what we're looking for. Well, turn 1, I don't really see us doing anything too crazy, so let's just get that Parlor in and go ahead and surveil 1. Finding Garza Assassin, well, we have no reason to put it in our hand, right? Why not seed it into the graveyard and get it going that way? Turn 2, we'll put the Bojuka Bog in so we can work our way towards getting Altair down next turn. And then we can just go Soul Ring into the Regalia. No, wait, we have it started ready to go. That way Altair can't be blocked if we want to make sure we protect it, even though it has that first strike. Turn 3, we could have done the Arena Glory, or we can do the Plains here. I guess there is the argument that we could exert Arena of Glory and bring Altair in with haste if we want to, but I don't know that we need to do that this turn. 5 mana. I guess let me think about this. I do this. I've got a red left +2. I couldn't buried alive. So let's just do that. Let's get Altair down. We can attach the Regalia to it to give it that protection. Ward 2 can't be blocked. And next turn we're going to set up for Altair's effect, get it moving. Here we drop that Arena Glory. I love the idea of Buried Alive here, just to feed some of those into our graveyard. We're missing the second black for Massacre Girl. So we do kind of want to try to work our way towards that if we can. But I like the idea of just Buried Alive here, going and getting, the things like Undercity Eliminator, those ones we talked about that can destroy things and deal with our opponent's things. Why not get them and seed them in now? I know we have. We could always get a legendary one as well. It's not like the funny part about Master Multiplied is it would just as easily we'd be able to get it here. Well, that's right. I apologize. It's not an assassin, so we can't. As far as that goes, I just realized that in my head. Let's go get, I guess, Big Game Hunter. So put all 3 of those into our graveyard. Move to combat, attack with Altair, and let's see. I'd probably go ahead and do the Garzas first. I mean, at the end of the day, something's going to have a creature that we can, destroy with this. Attack with it, sack it before the end of combat. You know what I mean? Make sure that we get the value from it. Turn 5, we see a Talisman, so that can get us that second black. Soul Ring for the Talisman. I like that for Massacre Girl. Move to combat, swing with Altair. Now we go ahead and exile. I guess Necrotal. Now we've got copies of both. We're having the chance to potentially destroy 2 things a turn now. Now they have Wither, so they're harder to block, right, because of Massacre Girl. Altair's getting in for some damage. Dragon's Call Summit coming in on tap, so 7 mana Vein Ripper makes sense. Now the bummer is that they exile themselves, but the cool part about Vein Ripper is if we're using like Garza's ability, then it's still going to count. But we would move to combat again, go into our graveyard again. And like I said, we're just getting these big creatures that we want that do these effects when they come in and exiled. And the cool part about this is if they take Altair out somehow, well, when he comes back down, it goes to attack again, these are still exiled and we can defend. I'm not going to go too much further here because I think you kind of see the point of what I'm trying to do. We'll go through it one more time just to build, but I think a lot of this deck comes down to what you choose to put in the deck to exile and less about functionally right exiling. We'll go Elegant Parlor turn 1 here. Let's see what our Surveil is. Entomb. We'll definitely want to keep that on top. Get the headquarters down. Get the Talisman down. We want to make sure we have access to that black. Now we should be able to do Altair next turn if that's what we want to do. No land's kind of brutal, so at least 1 land off of Olivia. We could Altair, or we could, Entomb and set up for something for Altair next turn, but I kind of like the of just getting it down. It's our commander, it's important. Still stuck on 3. So we can Entomb something now, which we would know for sure, right, that would go underneath it. I wish we had a good draw effect here. Cassandra wouldn't be bad. This could go get us the Spear, right? The only thing I kind of like about this play is it's going to shuffle our library. Maybe we're just, right, having one of those bad moments where we don't get what we want. That gets the spear. Still got to equip it, but not bad. I mean, Altair's the 3/3 first strike screw in here on turn 4. I mean, no one's going to be willy-nilly blocking that. We'll go to turn 5. Here we go. We get our land. So 4 mana, I would go for Olivia. And again, I still think Altair gets in somewhere, which would make us a treasure here. Again, a 3/3 first striker, I feel like still on turn 5, we probably have a spot where we can get them in valuable. Soaring, great. So here's where I'd probably start wanting to get, my graveyard seated up, try to get things there. Again, big score or something like that would have been great. So put something into the Soul Ring. We have 1 black source. It really would be great to have a second. But I guess we could do the ripples and and wait on the Entomb. We could do the Entomb and like Assassin Initiate here if we wanted to. Maybe we do that and then we just Entomb something like one of those assassins that destroys something on ETB. One of those ones we talked about. Maybe something like Garza's Assassin. Then move to combat, attack. We'd probably make a treasure and, get another treasure. And we'll go another turn here. Sweet. Land, still no black source, but that's okay. We have 4 here for the Arno Dorian to buff our creatures. Again, I'd love to get 1 more assassin to the graveyard, but that's okay. Leonidas is what? 2 to equip. Equip it to Altair, make him harder to block. On attack, we can discard 2 and then draw 2. I mean, I don't mind that, pitching the Merciless Assassin. I like Cover of Darkness, but I kind of want the Ripples of Death. And then get another Garza's, get another Destroy. Again, I hate being a broken record when it comes to the... this concept, but again, I really think that you can see the line here, you can understand the function, and it's just about picking the right things to put in your graveyard so that we can get them with memory counters on them. I think there's a lot better choices. Again, this is my first pass, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. I'd love to hear what you guys think of your choices for assassins down in the comment section below, but I will catch you guys next time.